What's up, everybody? We're back.
Yeah! Hey, welcome back to a Metalhead's Journey. Hey, hopefully you've been following along with us here through this journey that we're on right now, where we're doing 4 top 20 lists at the same time. Right now, we're going to do the number 17 album from the top 20 new metal tracks, or new metal albums, excuse me. This is Coal Chamber with their self-titled album. We're going to do a quick history of the band here. And then admittedly, guys, just right up front here, I'm going to let you know what it is before we get through it, just so you don't have to watch this if you don't want to. We are going to lightning round this review. I would tell you now, if you love this record, leave. Like, go ahead and exit, hit the thumbs down. Leave us a hateful comment. Like, you're not going to like what's going on here.
So, or you could alternatively watch the video and tell us every moment where we're wrong and stupid.
Yeah, sure. I think the first is more likely, but I'll take the second one too. So hey, we apologize ahead of time for that. All right, here we go. Hey, Coal Chamber, formed in 1992, is an American. That's funny. It auto-corrected American numeral band. It's actually new metal band from Los Angeles. The band was formed by singer Des Fafara and guitarist Meigs Rascone. Coal Chamber is considered to be one of the bands that define the new metal sound. Alternative Press wrote new metal would never have left the starting gates if it weren't for the achievements of Coal Chamber. Established in 1993, the LA outfit expertly weaved frantic hip-hop infused vocal rhythms between chugging guitars like they always belong together. Dez's predecessor to Devil Driver established the no-nonsense side of new metal that bridged the gap between straight-up heavy metal and goring industrial set to an infectious tempo. Loco and Fiend paved the way for the darker side of new metal to step into the limelight beyond the lifespan of Coal Chamber themselves. Roadrunner A&R head Monty Connor said that although the band received some grief due to their similarities with Korn, he believed they were the first to follow Korn. I would say that Coal Chamber's first record was the second new metal record ever to come out. Coal Chamber, released in 1997, is the band's debut album. The album is certified gold and is the band's most successful album. The album features one single, Loco.
Yeah.
So, look, I not to drag this out any longer than we have to, but I've been thinking about this for like 2 weeks, trying to think and trying to kind of compare this to the AFI movie list, where does this album hold some significance of, like, is it one of those things that, according to this, paragraph here, did it pave the way for other new metal bands? Well, no, not necessarily, because Korn came out first. And that was the only thing, as I was trying to do some research, was like, did they come before Korn or not?
Yep.
Because, dude, this is diet Korn.
Yep.
There's no way around it.
I would go so far as to say this is like diet caffeine-free Korn, if you're being generous.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's certainly highlights on this record, but it really begs the question for me is like this is one spot ahead of Mesmerize. Like, look, Mesmerize was already criminally low on the list anyway, but where somebody out there is saying this album is better than Mesmerize, yikes.
No way.
From System of a Down, no.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity, because this album shouldn't be on the list. So this is a great opportunity to, why couldn't we have had, insert whatever one you want to say here. I'm going to say Godsmack, because I feel like Godsmack certainly had a moment during new metal. And you could put their second album on here. You could put their first album on here right here at this point. And I think that would be totally fair.
Well,
right? And look, I know Dave's not a Godsmack fan, but I am, and that's just, to me, that could have been a good spot for somebody else. Well, overall, this album had some highlights on it, but mostly not great.
Well, I'll jump in here just because it's. I want to segue into what you said, Josh, in terms of bringing up System of a Down's Mesmerize. System of a Down's debut album came out 1 year after this, and I feel like, while I'm sure there are some people who don't hold that System of a Down self-titled album as highly as I do. I mean, I'm just thinking that 1 year after this, and in my opinion, is better in every single solitary category, and it's infinitely more unique than this album. Like, Potentially, and the only thing that I am going to say, because I mean, I don't know for sure, right? Because I mean, I haven't listened to all the new metal records, and I haven't really put them in order chronologically to see what's what. But this to me sounds like just extremely cookie cutter, like the absolute bare minimum definition of new metal, and it just, and maybe that's why I judged this album so harshly, because the new metal that I listened to all came out after this. For the most part, like my new metal kind of quote unquote journey, when this was new, in EW, when this was new, what kind of started with System of a Down, and obviously Korn, with Follow the Leader, which I think came out in 97 or 98. Or maybe 96. It's like a bunch of this stuff came out.
It's somewhere post 98, because I remember watching that show when I was in high school on TRL.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So like basically like 98 kind of started, like that's when I really started listening. And so I guess this coming out like a year earlier, to me, you could, people who say, oh, they laid the foundation, that's fine. But I also don't drive a Ford Model T car anymore, or never did, because we've advanced past that, and so whatever historical stuff this album has, that's fine. But that's, to me, I'm not judging this based on historical merit. I'm just judging this in a vacuum. And personally, I got to the point on listening to this, after like the fourth or fifth time, I was force feeding this album to myself every time. I did not want to listen to it. And it was an absolute chore to get through. It is not a short album either. Did not enjoy this one really at all.
Yeah, but it's also weird that we're celebrating this perceived second album of a genre. It's like okay, we should be talking about Korn because it was the first one to come out there, but
which is on our list, and it's much higher.
Yeah, and I mean the production's better, but I mean it's the difference in talking about like the first moon landing and the second moon landing. Like, everybody knows who Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin are. Do you guys know who landed on the moon second?
No. Like, who was the third?
Pete Conrad and Al Bean.
That was the third. The third guy on the moon is
Pete Conrad.
Yeah. Nobody remembers that guy.
But the funny part is that when you laid out some of the accolades, and they said that this was the first band to follow Korn. That's really not really a pat on the back. I don't see that as a flex. If you're just following the band that went before you, then you're not paving the ground for anything. And I talked to Dave, like literally the first time I went through this, and I was like, this sounds like Korn, White Zombie, a little bit of Primus.
How dare you compare this to White Zombie?
Or Primus, because that band is infinitely better than this.
But I said the problem is that just those three do this infinitely better, and that was the issue.
Dude, White Zombie, you could have Astro Creep 3000 on this list right here.
Absolutely,
and it would be beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jonah?
Yeah, Jonah, go for it.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a broken record at this point, but I have to bring it up. This is just one of those genres, especially this type of album specifically, because it was so early on. It just hasn't aged well. I mean, it plays into all the points you've already made about we don't drive Model Ts anymore. And, while this may have laid some groundwork, it hasn't really stood the test of time, unfortunately. Not for me. But, to its credit, it if you think about new metal and like what that sounds like or even feels like, this fits that. But almost too perfectly.
By definition.
By definition, it's almost formulaic even. But who's to say who created the formula or perfected the formula or whatever? We don't need to get into all that. But there are some things I liked on the album, but overall, it started to feel samey. It all kind of blended together. And on the last listen, I was forcing myself to listen.
I messaged Dave earlier today, and I was like, I have to listen to this album today, and I already want to hit stop after the third song.
Yeah, it's hard to appreciate something when everything after it improved upon it, right? So and I don't think this album does anything on its own that to me, unless you lived it, like if you were a Coal Chamber fan at the time that Coal Chamber was new,
I totally get it.
Then
I had this album. Like I bought this album 20 something years ago, like when it was popular. Maybe a couple of years after that, but I still hold like zero nostalgia for this.
Yeah,
so it was like a lot of bands, like a lot of bands in this genre, and with hair metal, the music is very, very much a product of its time. You know, the cultural zeitgeist was shifting. You know, the style. Like if you watch the music video for Loco, it's just like the music video was more nostalgic than the music because visually it's like, yes, I remember what it was like to be, you know,
in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, you see the band members and how they look, and you're like, wow, yes, I remember people exactly like that. So, you know, it's the same. It's the same with hair metal. It's the same with hair metal. You know, the style, the fashion, the shift in culture. You know, and they were both of these genres were very, very popular, like on a pop level popular.
Dude, I feel like the new metal look is coming back, man. Like the facial piercing revolution.
Yeah, man. You gotta bust out your Jankos. You gotta put highlights in your hair. You know,
dude. There's this fucking. Never mind. I'll save it for another time. Jonah, who's your MVP of the record?
For me, it's got to be Rain of Foss. The bass, despite sounding very similar to another artist that we've already mentioned several times. The bass was a standout for me. The tone, the mix, everything. Like you could hear the bass on every song. It, the whole rhythm section in general was really tight and really, really solid. But yeah, just for me, and also because not much else on the album stood out super, a lot. So yeah, it's got to be Rain of Foss. The bass is great.
Jason, what you got?
Yeah, absolutely, 100% Rain of Foss. I absolutely love the bass tone and style of the bass playing in this album. When I played bass, this was the tone that I wanted and I tried to attain. It sounds so fantastic, and you can bleed it through the drums, backup guitars, solo it. I mean, this is my favorite style of bass playing.
Dave, what you got?
Look, I mean, it was tough picking an MVP because I really don't like much of anything on this band. But for me, I will say, and I mentioned this to Jason earlier off stream, is I do appreciate the riffs. Of all the music in the band, I feel like the guitarist seems like the most talented one. Now, I don't know if that's actually true, but just for me, I do think the riffs do get me a little bit excited here and there. I don't appreciate Dez's vocals over them. So for me, the MVP is going to be Miguel or Migues Rascon, I believe is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, a lot of the riffs on this album sound really good, but as a whole package, it loses.
I feel like, and Jason, I'm going to give you credit for this, and I agree with what you told me this earlier, is for me, if you replace the vocalist and lyrics on a lot of these songs, you could have something with some of these songs, in my opinion. That's really what disconnected me from a lot of the songs. Is I don't appreciate Dez's vocals. I think his work with Devil Driver is infinitely more interesting in terms of vocally. But like the lyrics here and his vocals, like I don't think he had hit his stride yet as a vocalist on this album. Or I can't speak for the other Coal Chamber records, but on this album, I wasn't feeling it at all. But
it's all him.
Yeah,
this is all his lyricals.
Yeah, riff wise though, I think we have something here.
Yeah, my MVP for all the same reasons you said, Dave, is Migues. All right, top tracks here for me. In third place, I got the song First. Second song for me is Oddity. And number one for me is Loco. That was the reason why I bought the album back in the day. And listen, whatever else, like these are all three like good songs on the record for sure. I'd put these against other songs out there in the world in terms of strength. But for me, Loco is always going to be like the track from this album that I love. That song just fucking slaps. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Um, Dude, I don't like really any of these songs.
All right, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I don't. I don't.
I don't have a number three. I just have a number two, which is My Frustration. And number one, Loco.
Yep. Jonah, what you got?
For number three, I got Big Truck.
Yeah, that'd have been
Big
my honorable
Truck.
mention if I was gonna do one.
Right.
I like that song.
Yeah, dude, Big Truck. Come on. Who doesn't like Big Truck?
That's terrible.
And then my number two, I had Loco, and number one for me was Oddity.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought the bass, the main riff, played by the bass was really good in that song.
Loco's not
All right.
a horrible song. It's fine.
All right, so Loco's your number one. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, hey, so we're moving on to the end of the show here. This is where we like to give our score for the record. And just for some context here, for a lot of folks out there, an average score would be a 7. For us, it's a 5. So anything that's 4.9 and below, that's various levels of we would not recommend the album. Anything 5 and above is various levels of we would recommend it. Anything between 9 and a 10 is like an all-time classic. Jonah, why don't you go ahead and give us your score first?
So I struggled a bit with my score because while I didn't necessarily enjoy it a lot of my listening experience, I didn't think it was bad necessarily. There's a couple of songs that I think are bad, but overall, and because of the way that I score, I ended up at a flat 5. I almost think of it like if somebody has never heard nu metal before, like in their entire life, or like if Aliens came down and you're like, here's like a history of our music, I would probably put this in there, like, this is part of the evolution of the sound, so to speak. But as far as quality, enjoyment, yeah, it just gets a 5.
Go ahead, Jason.
Musically, as far as the musicianship side of this album, I love the bass tone, sound, as well as the groove and feel of the music. Lyrically, though, this is disjointed and chaotic. The rage-filled vocals sound muffled. Half the songs sound like he has half the microphone stuck down his throat, and it's just a downfall. Like, I can't stand it. I absolutely detest it. It is barely a recommend. I gave it a flat 5.
Wow.
Dave, what you got?
All right. So I, for those keeping score, I did adjust my Wisconsin Death Trip because I do think this Coal Chamber album is worse than that. I originally gave Wisconsin Death Trip a 3.8. In hindsight, that might have been a little bit much. I bumped that up to a 4.5 to accommodate this record, which I'm going to give a flat 4. I do not recommend this record. There are there's so many other nu metal records I would recommend somebody if they were going to listen to nu metal. It would definitely not be this record, and I would not let aliens listen to this whatsoever. We might get destroyed if they hear this record first.
Yeah, we might get turned into pixels.
Yeah,
man,
it's a terrible movie.
Oh, dude, I love that movie. Jonah and Jason, man, you guys. I don't say this very often about you guys. You guys are smart. You guys are real smart. I came in also at a flat 5 on this one. Look, I think this album is for somebody out there somewhere. It's just, I don't know. I just don't even feel the nostalgia, even though I had this album for 20 plus years. The only thing that keeps me coming back to this band at all is purely it's Loco. For it's on my main playlist. I listen to it, I don't know, a few times a year. Great song.
And it's the first song on the album, so that as soon as you hit that song, you're done. Eject.
I'm out. All right.
So if somebody asked you what you think, you would say Me Loco.
Yes.
Okay, that leaves us with a 4.75, thanks to my correct score of a 4. So that ultimately recommends, or we do not recommend this record. And look, I feel like if 3 of us gave it 5s, it's probably not a strong recommend anyway. So 4.75. We don't recommend this record, generally speaking, but it's not the worst record we've ever listened to. It's not going to kill anybody to listen to this record. So 4.75 is where we're at. Don't waste your time unless you are a big time Coal Chamber stan.
All right. Man. Anybody else have anything on this record?
No, man.
No.
I'm done.
Super. All right.
Put us out of our
thanks for
misery.
watching. Yeah, if you like the video, go ahead and hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're putting out weekly metal content. We got metal reactions, metal reviews, metal time machines, metal brackets, and all kinds of other cool shit. And in the meantime, live long and prosper.
Take it easy, everybody.
Later.
Peace.